Thank you so much, Vlad. You almost missed the opportunity of your life. So let's start with you. I would like you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah. Hi. So my name is Vlad Jidkov. I am a software engineer at Cosmos Labs. So our booth is right out there if you want to check us out. But I've been in Cosmos for the past few years. I actually started as a Cosmos developer, developing on various chains, doing projects, eventually started moving up the stack. And now I am the lead developer for the Cosmos EVM. So very interested in the EVM, the future of the EVM, things like that.
Thanks, thanks. You guys don't need to clap every single time he says something. Vlad's one of those people that is like annoying to have him on the panel. He's like, I'm Vlad, clapping. Muriel, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'm Muriel Médard, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Optimum. And shout out to some of our team there, recognizable not just by how fresh and happy they look, but also by their hats. I have taken leave from MIT to pursue this full time. At MIT, I've held the NEC chair in software science and engineering, which is the main computer science chair at MIT, and I've been a professor there for many years, working on decentralized coding, starting at a time when people thought that decentralization was really, really, really weird. Now they just think it's weird, we're basically making the memory layer for all blockchains, so very much into modularizing and looking at the propagation and access of data as its own business to be done in a decentralized way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Viet, you can go next.
Yeah, I just want to keep it short. There's too many OGs today in the room. My name is Viet. I joined Celestia since August 2021. So if you heard too many words modular, I'm truly sorry that we made you guys believe in all this. And I'm glad to be here. Now I'm explaining what it means, modular and blockchains in the new paradigm to everyone. And today's panel is basically my bread and butter.
Nice. Michael, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm working on StarkWare. It's the core entity behind Starknet, the validity roll upon Ethereum. Ironically, I'm the person that is working least on EVM, so I'm working mostly on Bitcoin and recently Zcash stuff, so the most hot thing. But anyway, so I've been working on the modular stack for quite a while, and so happy to share some insights and the recent developments at StarkWare.
Please do. Viet, I want to start with you, and we don't have anyone from the Ethereum Foundation here with us, but they've been changing the approach a little bit, because for a very long time, even Justin Gregg was talking about how we need to have the L2s and we should scale through the L2s, but since the Pectra upgrades and the blob space increasing from 6 to 9 blobs in a block, and then Thomas becoming the head of the Ethereum Foundation. Now we see a lot of coming from the Ethereum Foundation of how people should essentially build on the L2 itself. And even with Bhutan, for example, they built their digital ID on Polygon, but they changed to Ethereum now. So how do you guys feel about it? And do you think the L2s are still valuable? Obviously they are because of the speed and everything else. But how are you thinking about it overall?
So I'm wearing my cosplay EF hat. I definitely would say that L2s play a major role in Ethereum evolution, as someone who believed in the white paper on Ethereum since 2017 myself. And now what we see in Ethereum is there is a very delicate balance between how we want to scale any execution layer that taps into the Ethereum economy, meaning that if you think about any protocol as an economy of itself, Ethereum is basically outsourcing a lot of the economic value to those L2s. And with recent changes, Ethereum people, I would say, in general, the community started thinking around topics of aka nationalization, like, oh, wait, we actually need to make money. And, like and this is where they need to keep the very fine balance between, aka what Vitalik is saying, we have this low-risk DeFi to keep people around and believe into what Ethereum is going forward, and of course, onboarding a lot of developers to go full send into insane high throughput chains, for example, like recent Mega ETH. That you want to keep that really fine-dined balance. And even with every blob upgrade, they're only delaying the decision-making where they're tilting more, rather than just making a very firm decision. So yeah, I would say with modular approach, they can have this optionality.
Yeah, thanks for that. And Vlad, can you just tell me a bit more about the thought process of implementing the EVM compatibility now? You guys have been using Rust for a long time, but what was the thought process? Give us like a sneak peek in the room of like, how did you reach that conclusion? Was there some pushback on whether you should mainly focus on Cosmos? It's not, probably, I'm sure that some people are not very keen, I assume. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so to be clear, the Cosmos EVM is a module on top of the Cosmos SDK stack. So chains can choose to use it, chains can use other things. And the thought process is that Ethereum has such a vibrant community of developers, of projects, of tools, and how can we tap into that? How can we tap into the work that they're doing and then offer that to more people who want sovereignty? And so a lot of projects, a lot of institutions and users, they value sovereignty. They value having control over the direction of their chain. But they also value Ethereum because that is absolutely the largest developer community. They want to attract those developers. They want people to be able to use the tools that they're used to. And so to us, EVM was a no-brainer.
Thanks. And Muriel, you're the only one on the panel that has this academic background. I actually assume, guys, I'm not sure. I haven't done my research, but hopefully I'm right on that.
At least the only one who will confess to it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm a pleb bachelor, so.
Cool. But yeah, tell me a bit more about this modularity and how do you think about the Ethereum future from this like very academic background? What's the benefit? Give us this alternative perspective.
Yeah, so, my perspective, and, you're talking about academic, let's go even into history, right? You look at the history even of computing, per se. So, think right after World War II, 1948, Von Neumann is at Princeton and asks the question, what is a computer, right? People had been using computers, everybody's heard of the Enigma machine and all of that, that saga, Bletchley Park, et cetera. But, this was a really good time to go, hey, these things are really powerful. What are they, And so he took a step back and said, look, a computer is a machine. It has, input, output. It has a compute part, a bus, what we would call a bus, and it has memory. And then the compute part has two parts. One is what they call the control, so what we would call maybe the SDK or the EVM on top of it, let's say the operating system roughly. And then you have the actual compute, what we would think of as a GPU, CPU, whatever you want, which is the arithmetic logic unit, which has, of course, its own software, usually firmware in it, right? And that model is amazing. It has stood the test of time, right? And part of that model is, if you look at it, it's modularity, right? You don't have the operating system decide what memory you use. Right now, you may have operating systems that can make particularly good use of, say, a really fast bus, or multi-threading in your compute unit. I mean, there are all kinds of things that you can do there, but inherently, it's not all glommed together. And in general, whenever you think of designing, like sometimes I teach our systems course at MIT. You teach people that you don't make one big blob of a project, right? Like when they come back with a project at the end and it's just like, okay, it does this, and and it's a blob, you go, well, great job getting it to do what you want, but this would never hold in a real systems. So I think that that's really important, and it's not just about Ethereum or anything, it's about any project. You need to have that modularity, and you need it for robustness, and also so that you can have different upgrades on different parts without having to break everything and start over again, right? So that's, I think, really, really crucial.
Thanks for that. And Michael, I'm really interested in the centralized sequencers, and I know that you guys recently introduced multiple sequencers that will have different mempools, and they'll use Tendermint as a consensus. And it's been a massive discussion within the Ethereum ecosystem about, okay, we have the L2s, and they're kind of decentralized, they're fast on execution, but they're quite centralized because you have centralized sequencer. So tell me a bit more about it. Talk to us about the importance of sequencing, a TLDR on what that is, but also how did you guys decide to focus on that?
Sure. Yeah, actually, interesting note. So we're using Malachite, which we created together with informal systems. So they build this for us. So yeah, we are starting now at the process of gradual transition from centralized sequencing to decentralized sequencing. And this is something that many rollups teams are promising, but I think we're one of the few ones who are actually trying to deliver that. And it's a long process, right? So you cannot just switch from centralized to decentralized at once, right? Because it's a running chain. So essentially, we're building the airplane while flying, and it involves like a lot of things. So it's not just writing the code without bugs, which is kind of heavy lifting by itself. But you also have to coordinate validators, put the economic incentives in place, bootstrap the tokenomics, like all these kind of things. So there are like many things you have to do in order to bootstrap a truly decentralized sequencing set. And we're like on a really good track here. So we introduced a share mempool. So now we decentralized the sequencing. We have staking place. So right now, I think there is more than almost 1 billion Starks are at stake, and also I think around 1,000 Bitcoins. So we recently introduced dual staking Starks and Bitcoin. And next year we plan to move to decentralized block validation, so that ultimately, hopefully, and somewhere next year, we will be fully decentralized. Now, why is it important? Although rollups are upchains, so they do inherit security from the underlying chain and also some notion of liveness. It's not all good, right? Because in the ideal world, right, where we settle as fast as possible and also do base sequencing from the base layer, right? So we inherit as much security and liveness as possible from the settlement layer. But in real world, right, so it's too expensive, so we're not there. Hence, we have to settle less frequently, let's say once in the several hours, and also we only leave, let's say, some escape hatch mechanism as the, for the worst case scenario. So decentralized sequencing kind of addresses those two issues. So in terms of the security, you can give users soft finality, which is better than the, just trust me bro thing. And in terms of the liveness, you also, now you only need 2/3 of your validators to stay online, in order to keep chain live. So this is important, and I'm really happy that we are the ones who will deliver it. Now, in terms of the recent downtimes caused by AWS, so this is just about liveness, and for that, if you wanted to address this only, you do not necessarily need to decentralize the sequencer. You just need to, just kind of decentralize your infra, right? So you have enough replicas, like in different data centers. I believe like Arbitrum, maybe like others do this actually. And the ones who don't, they were like down. But that's not because they, they have centralized secrets, or just they don't have good infra, I guess.
Thanks for that. I kind of want to talk a little bit about Dankrat and him leaving the Ethereum Foundation, moving to Tempo after they did one of the biggest fundraisers in the history of crypto. How do you guys feel about it? Because within the Ethereum community, a lot of people were essentially arguing that they've lost one of their best developers, and someone that's been like a prominent figure within the foundation. And I think with this modular future, we'll see a lot more of that, because these other chains will be essentially building on top of Ethereum, but they also try to essentially extract value, take some of their developers. So the Ethereum is essentially incentivized to increase the throughput on the L1, otherwise the L2s might eat their lunch, and that's what's happening with Base, and that's why a lot of people within the Ethereum Foundation and the Ethereum community are kind of unhappy about it. I won't ask anyone in particular, but whoever is brave enough to answer the question, please give it a try.
I would definitely just add one thing, that now we are at the crossroads of knowing if any token, but in particular here, ETH is part of the community, or it's just a utility asset in interest of XYZ, and the actual community does not care. Like this is, like, just to give you guys an example, if today we were talking about React as a community, because React doesn't have a token, it's just a tool, we are happy that one of the best people go work at Facebook or Google. That we don't have a problem with that. But when we talk about our current industry, because of a token or whatever, people start mixing it. And I think that is very unhealthy in our community that we have that. Reason is, let's be honest, Solidity and EVM is our lingua franca. We speak this language. And if we basically judge people's future careers by their pick of choice, maybe Dankrat decided to go there because he can have more freedom on research. And he doesn't need to coordinate with all the stakeholders and then, convey the ACD to do a feature. And, if I was in his shoes and I was in this position, I would also agree that, hey, it's better to join a startup. And yeah, my take is that we need to start separating what it means to be an Ethereum token holder and what it means to be part of the Ethereum community, the way how we are separating in modular thesis everything, and we're not commingling it. Otherwise, this is a mess.
Does anyone else want to? Yeah, Michael, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it's like the situation with Dankrat specifically is a bit far-fetched. So crypto Twitter loves drama, and if it wasn't like Dankrat, it would be like something else. I don't think there is like a shortage of talent in EF, and there are like a lot of great researchers there, and I'm more than sure that will be like others, because it's a great place to be, and you can work on very interesting problems at scale. So it's not really an issue. And so generally, like thankfully, Ethereum is a permissionless chain. So like everyone is free to do whatever he wants. So whether we like it, whether like EF is happy or not happy about modular future or about corporate chains, I mean, it's not that they can do much about this. Aside from the Twitter drama. So
thanks.
I guess we'll see.
Thanks for that. Vlad, can you actually talk a bit more about how you guys are contributing to the broader Ethereum ecosystem and how the value will literally accrue on the L1 and why it will kind of be beneficial?
So I think, like Viet was saying, there's a really big separation between the Ethereum as an L1 and the Ethereum ecosystem as like a set of tools, a set of, a community of people bringing value back to the system by different means. And so we're in the business of building tools like that, helping people out. And so our goal is to allow more companies, more projects who want sovereignty to be able to be a part of that ecosystem. And so by creating more projects, by having more people use this, us and those projects are now directly incentivized to contribute back to that community. And so that means PRs, that means contributing to docs, that means doing research. Everybody now is a part of building this together. And the more people that we get, even if they're sovereign, using the Cosmos EVM, the more people we have incentivized and part of that community.
Nice. And Muriel, please give us like final remarks, but also talk about how we're going to have this modular future. How do you envision it? How do you think you'll play out in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, I think that having that modularity is very important and will happen, right? Again, nobody's computer right now has the exact same people having built the apps, whatever it is on it, the programs and the operating system, and the driver for whatever else you have in your computer, and the CPU and the bus and the memory. It just doesn't happen. Maybe it happened in the very, very early days of computing. It definitely did. But eventually you have to split it up. And you have to split it up because, again, there's specialization, basically. There's also the ability to have people have choice of what they want, right? If you're putting together your computer, you go and you can buy different things. I was actually spending some time recently. My son was building his first computer, and we were choosing all of the different components. And I explained to him that, by the way, the lights don't actually make it go faster. But that's one of the components, and the fact was, like, you go and you really have to think about what it is that you're putting together, and we're used to that, right? And it's healthy. Modularization is hygiene. It just is. And then people have a choice depending on what it is that they're trying to run. So I think that that approach, rather than being worrisome, is actually extremely healthy.
Thank you. You're exactly on time. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, sharing your insights, talking about the future of Ethereum. Please put your hands together for the amazing panel. You've been fantastic.
Good chatting, man.
Thank you so much for coming here comparatively early. I know that a lot of you went out yesterday, had a couple of drinks, so please put your hands together for yourself and making it here on time, which is very important. Oh, you don't clap for yourself, guys, but you clap for them. That's all right. That was standard, but have a lovely day anyway.
Good chatting.
It was a great chat.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.